Night shifts in hospice don't feel like normal time. The clocks tick, yes, but everything else slows down. The hallway lights stay dim, conversations are whispers, and every sound carries farther than it should. You start to notice things most people never would, like the difference between someone sleeping and someone who's about to die. That night started like any other. Mr. Eckenham had been declining all evening. His breathing had that uneven, shallow rhythm we all recognize. By midnight, I already knew he didn't have long. At 2:13 a.m., it happened. I checked his pulse, nothing. Listened for breath, nothing. His pupils were fixed. I wrote the time down carefully. 2:13 a.m. There's always a strange stillness right after someone passes. It's not peaceful. Not exactly. It's more like the room itself is holding its breath. I stayed a few extra minutes. That's something I always do. It feels wrong to just leave immediately. Then I did what we're trained to do. I pulled the sheet over his face, dimmed the lights, closed the door, and I walked away. The hallway was quiet again. Too quiet. At 3:02 a.m., the call bell rang. Sharp, sudden, from room 6. I stopped mid-step. Sometimes the wiring glitches, especially in older hospice buildings, but something about this felt deliberate. Still, protocol is protocol. I walked back down the hall. The red light above room 6 blinked steadily. I remember thinking, you just pronounced him. I pushed the door open slowly. The room was colder than before, and the first thing I noticed, the sheet. It wasn't over his face anymore. It was folded neatly at his chest, like someone had carefully moved it. My stomach tightened. I stepped closer, and then I saw his eyes, wide open, locked on the door, locked on me. For a second, my brain tried to explain it away. Reflex, muscle movement, something medical. Then his lips moved. Why did you leave me? Clear, not air escaping, not a twitch. Words. I felt something drop inside my chest, and I ran. I don't even remember reaching the nurse's station. I just remember grabbing another nurse and dragging her back with me. When we opened the door again, everything was normal. The sheet was back over his face. His body was still, cold, exactly as it should have been. We checked the call bell. The cord was hanging on the far side of the bed, nowhere near his hands. No one ever gave an explanation, and I stopped staying those extra minutes after a patient passed. Hello, and thank you for being here. We want you to know that Bone-Chilling Nightmare is completely free from ads. No interruptions, no distractions, just pure immersive storytelling. But creating these experiences comes at a cost. Every video is built from hours of research, writing, and production, all done with care to bring you stories that truly stay with you. Without ad revenue, the channel depends entirely on the support of viewers like you. If our stories have ever captured your imagination or given you that unforgettable chill, we invite you to support us. Whether it's $3 or $500, your contribution directly helps us continue creating and growing this community. Don't just watch from the shadows. Be part of what keeps Bone-Chilling Nightmare alive. Thank you so much for checking out the link in the video description below to support and keep this creepy community thriving. Thank you again for your support. Every hospice has a room people avoid. Not officially. No one writes it down. No reports, no incidents, no formal complaints. But the staff knows. You see it in the way assignments are swapped, in the small pauses before someone agrees to take that hallway, in the way new nurses are quietly redirected. Take the other wing tonight, it's easier. In our building, it was the last room at the end of the corridor, room 12. Nothing about it looked unusual. Same layout, same equipment, same soft lighting designed to make dying feel less clinical, less cold. But something about that room never felt right. Patients there didn't last long, and I don't mean that in the normal hospice sense. I mean faster than expected, quieter than expected. Sometimes unsettled. We didn't talk about it, we just worked around it, until the night we couldn't anymore. It was a slow night when they brought him in, mid-50s, no family present, advanced condition, non-verbal. He was already heavily sedated by the time he arrived, barely responsive, minimal movement, breathing shallow but steady. The kind of patient who needs monitoring but not interaction. The kind you expect to pass, eventually, not immediately. Room 12 was the only one available. I remember hesitating when I saw the assignment, just for a second. Then I pushed the thought aside. Because in hospice, you don't get to be superstitious. You just do your job. The first few hours were uneventful, vitals stable for his condition, no agitation, no movement beyond the faint rise and fall of his chest. By 1:30 a.m., the entire wing had gone quiet. That deep, heavy silence that only exists in places where people are close to death. Lights dimmed, machines humming softly, footsteps echoing farther than they should. I started my routine rounds, room by room, check vitals, adjust lines, make notes, normal, predictable, controlled. Until I reached the end of the hall, room 12. I didn't even step inside at first, I just glanced through the doorway. And that's when everything stopped making sense. The bed was empty, not messy, not disturbed, empty. Sheets smooth, pillows aligned, like no one had been there at all. My brain rejected it immediately. Wrong room. That was my first thought. I stepped back, checked the number on the wall, correct room. I looked again, still empty. But then my eyes caught something. The IV line. It was hanging loosely off the side of the bed, disconnected, swaying slightly. That's when my pulse kicked in. Fast, loud. Because patients like him don't just get up. They don't sit up. They don't disconnect themselves. I pushed the door open fully and stepped inside. The temperature dropped instantly. Not gradually, not subtly. It was like walking into a different environment, cold enough that I felt it on my skin. Cold enough that my breath almost caught. I froze for a second. Then I heard it, breathing, slow, deep, heavy, right beside me. Not across the room, not in the hallway, beside me, close enough that I could almost feel it, but the bed was still empty. "Hello?" I said. My voice sounded smaller than it should have. No answer, just breathing, steady, measured, like someone standing still, watching. I took a step toward the bed. Every instinct in my body was telling me to stop, to leave, to call someone else, but training overrides fear. So I kept moving. I reached the side of the bed, still empty, still perfectly made. The breathing stopped, just like that. Cut off, silence. And then, the mattress dipped. Right in front of me, a clear, visible indentation, like someone had just sat down, slowly, deliberately. I stared at it, my mind trying to force logic into something that had none. Then the breathing started again, behind me. I turned so fast, my shoulder hit the IV stand. And for a split second, I swear, I thought I saw movement. Not a full figure, not something clear, just a shift, like something stepping back into place. And then, he was there. Back in the bed, exactly positioned, head on the pillow, arms at his sides, body aligned perfectly with the sheets, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. I couldn't move. I just stood there, trying to understand how an empty bed had become occupied again. Without sound, without motion, without time. I stepped closer slowly, my hands shaking just enough that I noticed. I checked his pulse. Nothing. Skin cold, too cold. Not just recently past cold. Stillness that felt older. I looked at his chest. No movement, no breath, nothing. I backed away and walked fast to the nurse's station. Not running, but close. I pulled his chart, hands not as steady as I wanted. Time of death, 1:32 a.m. I looked at the clock on the wall. 1:40 a.m. 8 minutes. For 8 minutes, that room had something in it. Something breathing. Something sitting on that bed. Something that wasn't him. I went back with another nurse. We checked everything. The body hadn't moved. The lines were intact again. No signs of disturbance. No explanation. I didn't tell her everything I experienced. Just enough, because I could see it in her face. She already didn't want to be there. After that night, things changed. Quietly. No announcements. No meetings. But room 12 stopped being used as often. Then eventually, not at all. Supplies were moved out, lights stayed off, door kept closed. And here's the part that still bothers me. More than the breathing. More than the empty bed. More than the way he just appeared again. A few weeks later, I was covering a different shift, different hallway, different patients. I passed by the end of the old corridor, past room 12. The door was closed, lights off, unused. And as I walked by, I heard it, breathing, slow, heavy, on the other side of the door. I didn't stop, I didn't check, I just kept walking. Because by then, I already knew, some rooms don't stay empty, even when they should be. Either are things hospice nurses don't talk about openly, not because we don't experience them, but because once you say them out loud, they become harder to ignore. Grace was one of those patients you don't forget. She was kind, even near the end, even in pain, she'd thank you, smile at you, ask how you were doing. That's rare. 3 nights before she passed, something changed. I was adjusting her IV when she suddenly looked past me, toward the corner of the room. "Can you tell him to stop standing there?" Her voice was quiet but serious. I followed her gaze. Nothing, just the usual. Chair, wall, shadows. "There's no one there, Grace," I said gently. She frowned slightly. "Yes, there is." I checked her chart. Medications were normal. No new symptoms that would explain hallucinations. But I'd seen this before. Patients near death sometimes see things. Usually loved ones, family, people they recognize, not strangers. The next night, she brought it up again. "He's still here." Her voice sounded different this time, tighter. "What does he look like?" I asked. She swallowed slowly. "He's tall and he doesn't blink." That sent a small chill down my spine. Still, I stayed calm. "Grace, there's no one here." She didn't argue. She just kept staring. The third night was worse. "He's closer now," she whispered. I turned immediately. Nothing, but I felt it. That subtle shift in the air, like someone had just stepped into the room. "He's smiling," she said. That's when it stopped feeling like a hallucination. Because dying patients don't describe smiles like that, not unless they're comforted. She wasn't. On her final night, I came in just after midnight. The room felt heavy, like the air had thickened. Grace reached out suddenly and grabbed my wrist. Her grip was stronger than it should have been. "He's right behind you." Every instinct in my body told me not to turn, but I did. Slowly, nothing was there. No movement, no shadow, just empty space. When I looked back at her, she wasn't afraid anymore. She was staring past me, and she was smiling. Not her usual gentle smile, something deeper, relieved, like whatever had been in that room had finally done what it came to do. She passed minutes later. I stood there longer than I should have, because even after she was gone, that feeling didn't leave. It lingered, like something was still in the room, watching, waiting. I requested to be moved to a different wing the next day. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I truly appreciate your time and presence, and thank you for your support and contributions. It means more than you know and helps keep Bone-Chilling Nightmare alive and growing. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next story.